I am over the moon excited for our next guest, you guys, because it is rare that I watch people's content on social media. And this is a woman who is redefining what business, what feminine leadership, and what entrepreneurship means. She is such a game changer. Her energy is infectious and her teachings are so powerful, you guys. So get ready, fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be the most insane podcast with one of the most amazing women. Shosha, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you kick it off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, Brittany, I'm so happy to have you here. And thank you for that amazing intro. And, really, there's so many spaces that we could start, right? Like, probably a lot of the listeners, like, tell me about yourself. Oh my God, I'm so multifaceted, so multidimensional. And I think, that's really who I work with is women who are like just multi-pronged, like artists, creatives, people who want to make a masterpiece out of their lives, and especially female entrepreneurs who have been taught maybe business in a very rigid linear approach. I really started this doing life coaching, helping people transform shame to power. Really, that's what my podcast Living Brave is about. It's about uplifting people and their stories and talking about the taboos, because taboos are only here to keep us misinformed and disempowered, and kind of demystify the human experience and really heal ourselves through authentic connection, vulnerability, and owning who we are. And really like approaching the things that have scared us and learning who we are in the process. And so it just really excited me to talk about the things that other people weren't talking about, and connect with people and express myself, and maybe even serve somebody. And that's really how I started my platform, is like, gosh, I'm going to pop if I don't talk about this stuff. And I think that a lot of the questions dissolve would be like, how do I keep going without evidence? And, like, how do you show up even if no one's going to listen? And how do you keep going if people don't like what you have to say? And all of the $1 million questions that if there was an easy answer, then, you would stop asking them a million times in a row because you just don't like the answer. But really, the answer for me has always been like, well, I love what I do. And like, I did it before I got paid. And like, it would like really hurt me not to share my art with the world, and not to, I'm becoming someone through the process of like, this is so much more than a brand. It's so much more than a business. It's really like, what a beautiful opportunity to have a platform in which you can share your heart. You can do life with people. You can connect with people all over the world, and you can really house like a body of work, that feels like it can be your legacy, that the teachings, that the principles, that the things that come through for you and for others like help you become a better person. So Living Brave is the company, is the business, but it really is like a mission. It feels like a big calling for me. And it's really like evolved, and I'm excited to see how it continues to evolve and transform. But there's this the coaching business that has really developed, and I love coaching. I love mentoring. I feel like a lot of us who are coaches have been doing it our whole lives, just in an unsolicited way. So yeah, doing that more officially, helping people kind of break through their shame. A lot of people who had also had an STI diagnosis really resonated with my HSV story of feeling like my life was over with, a common skin condition. And really what that did was just shine a light on a lot of the shame, a lot of the fear, a lot of the stuck energy that was already inside. A lot of us are just holding this all subconsciously. People are like, shame, that feels like a big word. I don't have shame. But it's like, oh, have you ever, you know, have you ever hedged? Have you ever not really gone all in because you were afraid of what was going to happen next? Have you ever like been a perfectionist? Have you ever people pleased? Have you ever, abandoned your truth for somebody else? Have you ever overthought something? Have you ever like, really like chase someone who wasn't right for you? All of these things are all a symptom of just shame, because when we have shame, it's a feeling like we're not enough, like we're afraid of getting found out. It's just not like I failed. It's like I'm a failure. It's not like I lost to the game. It's like I'm a loser, right? It's that feeling that makes us just kind of like live life in avoidance of what we don't want, avoiding the past. And so really my work is about being in the transformational, like in a transformational energy of growth, of expansion constantly. And so the first kind of step in that journey when I started with shame slaying was helping people transform their past, right? Because shame is typically something that's passed down to you, and also from your past. And you carry it like a really heavy weight into your future with you. and you start to just live your life in alignment with someone who like bad things happened and who just overlays the past on the present, doesn't really have that growth mindset that things can be radically different than how they are now in the future. And so really, I think that's why I started with shame slaying, because it's kind of the first step. And always like when entrepreneurs come to me or when I'm doing transformational work with people, it's like, does it really all come down to shame? And what is the antidote of shame is like living brave, right? Because when we aren't protecting our wounds and trying to compensate for something we feel we don't have inside, then we can actually approach life because we're actually coming at it from like, yeah, I'm proud of who I am. I'm invested in projects that I care about. You know, I know who I am and where I'm going, and I'm a badass because I'm actually like pouring into my life and into myself, and I'm proud of who I am when I wake up every day. And now I can actually go at what I want, what I truly desire. But I think a lot of people's goals are sometimes rooted their in their lack and their proving energy, you know, and it creates this kind of rat race that we left in the corporate and entrepreneurship. And so often it just comes back to, again, like anyone who knows about vibration, being a vibrational match, which is I love working with energy, because honestly, I healed my symptoms of like so many symptoms I've healed within myself of just like emotional work, emotional alchemy, getting out of like past patterns of survival and fear, and actually like working on my vibration, that you do hold an energy field around you, that you are working with unseen forces, you know, that there are feelings that you feel, there are things that you build, relationships that you build, there are energies at play, there are power dynamics at play. And that's really the world that I love living in, because it is the world of the feminine. Like, you know, the masculine really uses a lot of force. It's a very like rooted in the material, and it's amazing, right, to work with that world as well, and really look at like um you know, the more I'd say the way the world operates is like what you put in, you can expect to get out, right? But I love working with the subtle energies of understanding attraction, understanding energetics, you know, understanding like how we actually create like relationships or something that you can't see. But ultimately, like my business, a multiple 8-figure business, has been built through the art of relationships, like through the art of building intimacy, through the art of creating value, for the art of being in like a win-win situation, collaboration. And that's really exciting to me. So it's really evolved from like shame slaying to helping people. Okay, well, when you're no longer shackled by shame, then I started working with people who, okay, now you feel like you broke out of the matrix. You probably have a story, you probably have a message that's been placed on your heart to share with the world. And now that you're no longer afraid of like, you know, getting found out, of failing, you can't shut up about it. And I work with a lot of people who have brands. It's like they're so invested in moving this conversation forward. They feel like something really happened for them. They feel like, oh my gosh, the way that the world is doing this is like there's another way. And that's really how you build a movement. You know, I didn't set out to build a movement, but a movement is really rooted in a moral inversion, right? Like there's no really big mass company. You can create an economic inversion and that's fine. You might do well, but you need to create like a moral inversion where people feel like an identity shift. They feel like, yes, I'm rising up against the status quo. And so I work with a lot of people who are like anti-status quo. They're shame slayers, right? And they come and they build a movement, you know, based on a principle, an idea, values, right? And then they have all different kinds of businesses, whether it's products, services, you know, whether it's coaching courses or influencers, like people who want to make the world a better place and want to, you know, lead their life in alignment with their highest level values. That is often the brand values. So it's really fun because it incorporates like, you know, transformational work and growth as the whole person, with also an energetically sound strategy for moving forward and seeing how we can bring our artistry, like life artistry, taking what life is giving us and making, like really looking at what is our contribution to this moment and how can we help make a masterpiece of our lives, and then just incorporating that into business. Like, wow, we have these social media platforms, we have, you know, these opportunities to create events for people, we know how to build community, we know how to understand like how to facilitate breakthroughs and for other people and ourselves, and how to shift outcomes in our favor and other people's favors, and really how to lead people. So the business side of things is also really fun, because if you're going to be an artist, a really cool place to do that is a space where there's literally infinite impact and earnings potential. So that's been just the most incredible journey.
Yay, I love that. So much of that. I was like, yes, yes, yes. I resonated with it so deeply because I truly believe that is the biggest thing that holds people back, is not having that brave, unshakable confidence in yourself. And that is something you are so good at. You embody it, you live it, and you inspire thousands and millions of people to step into their power in a massive way. So, what is the mindset shift that you had to have to go from feeling this shame and low vibrational energy into this powerhouse, this light that is just igniting people, just igniting a fire within them? What was that mindset shift?
Hmm. That's such a, yeah, I'm like, wow, mindset shift. I would say when it comes from, so let me, let me just start over on this. Asking about the biggest shift from moving from shame to power.
Yes.
Yeah. So mm, it's interesting is like thinking your way into things is being cognizant of your own thoughts. I think it's like a beautiful place to be because this is expanding your consciousness and seeing like, oh, this is kind of the thought loop that I keep having. And is this really supporting me? You know, the same lesson is delivered until learned. So, oh, wow, this is what people do. It really helps me a lot in my business of like, oh, this is what people do. They get into doomsday thinking. Oh, this is what people do. They get insecure. They start to hedge. They create the thing they're afraid of and the avoidance of it. Oh, this is what people do. Oh, my mind is doing this. I can't necessarily trust my mind. But I can train my mind and I can use my mind as a tool for my heart, right? My mind is traveling into the past and into the future. And so I can travel my mind into the future. This is like visualization work and really pull that future towards me and feel those feelings in my body. But most people just let their mind run loose and the mind just goes into the past and relives the worst possible scenario. And then your mind is literally so powerful that you'll create like the same chemical reaction in your body. And so your body and your mind are in fight or flight response and you're in stress response, which actually cuts off blood flow to your brain and to your body. So you can't be creative or solution oriented in that space. And so I know so many entrepreneurs, even if they're like hustled and grind to make so much money, who are kind of still in that survival mode. I'd say like when it comes to shame, kind of what I was sharing before is like I really came face to face with my own shame when I was diagnosed with HSV, and this was when I was maybe 25. I'm like, how old was I even? 25. And yeah, I thought my life was over. You know, I really thought my life was over. And it was like the end of me. It was so felt like such a victim to my life. And then when we feel like a victim, what do is we basically just live our life like a victim, right? And so whatever we believe we make true. So I had no boundaries. I felt like, you know, I just didn't love being with myself. I didn't feel like I was someone who was worthy of love. So I kept being in relationships with people who I wasn't really sure if they liked me. And, you know, I was like just kind of living this as a shell of myself, even if everything looked good on paper. And I'd gone through my whole like spiritual awakening, you know, years ago, in which I was like, oh my God, like you're more than your mind and your body. Oh, okay. And I kind of bypassed the human experience. I was like, okay, wait, like, you know, I can, it was like, I can kind of transcend my identity. And it was through like yoga and I was traveling. And then my world came crashing and burning when I found out that I had HSV because I had really deep shame that's really associated with our human journey. You know, we can't bypass the human experience. And that took me to a really low place where, yeah, I just felt like, gosh, I had it coming to me. I attracted this horrible thing into my life. And I was in Nepal and I was about to trek the Annapurna circuit and I just flew home and I was like, well, I had a great run. Like my life is over. No one's going to love me. And I just lived out that like victimhood for a while until, you know, I think we all get to that kind of rock bottom place. And sometimes you need to go there a few times or you just hear a voice. And I had this like intuition, this knowing. I had seen this TED talk like months earlier and I wasn't ready for it, but it was this woman who was being funny and playful about her STI. And she was like, this has nothing to do with your worth. Like, there are more important things to tell the world. And at the time, you know, I still felt like a victim. And some people who maybe hear my story or, you know, are inspired by people are like, that's inspiring, but I don't see myself in it yet. But what it does is it plants a seed of possibility. And so there was one night where I just felt like it was so far from my truth, you know, and what I was living and how I was leading my life. And I just heard the voice. I was like, you can continue to do this and seek outside of yourself, or you know exactly what to do. You know, you can rebuild your relationship with yourself. You can become your own best friend again. And then I went on what we call a quantum leap, and not financially, right? I woke up the next day and I cut out like 80% of the thoughts, behaviors, actions, people in my life. And I was like, I'm letting go of the 80 and doubling down on the 20. And that's really what a quantum leap is. And so I started I started running. I ran a half marathon. I decided that I was going to learn how to pitch a tent. I was going to travel across the US. I worked at like 7 yoga and music festivals. I didn't even know where I was going half the time. They're like, oh, there's this festival in Oregon. You're going to love it. I thought it was a yoga festival. I showed up in like yoga pants. It was like this crazy world music festival. And there's like, it was just wild, like no cell service for a week, no Wi-Fi. I'm just like floating around. I don't know anybody. It's the best weeks of my life. It's the best time of my life. And so I went on this journey of like really coming home to myself, really loving myself again. And I knew that a part of that process was that I was carrying around trauma. And I didn't really know the definition of the time, but my teacher, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, calls trauma anything that you're still carrying with you from the past that you feel happened to you, not for you. And that there's literally no situation in your life that you can't transform into post-traumatic growth. And so I was carrying around trauma, I was carrying around baggage. I hadn't transformed my past. And the path of growth is realizing that you can transform any situation from your past to be an asset that works for you, right? So your present is actually creating your past, and your future is creating your present. Most people think the past creates the present creates the future, but it's like an exponential version of time, right? And so I started actually using the past, remastering the past to see that this is something that actually happened for me. But I didn't have that awareness right away. I just knew that maybe I have to. Honestly, it was just an intuition. It was kind of crazy. It was like, I need to kind of look at this. And it is wild that would happen, but I felt this feeling like, I need to own this. I need to come clean about this. Not because I had lied to people or anything. It was just like, I think I had a knowing that vulnerability was going to support me. And so I started to talk about this with people close to me. And I started with people closer in my circle, and then I started to work my way out. And I just started talking about like, yeah, I had this shame around this STI. And like, I really started opening up to people. It was probably because when I had done that in my victimhood, about four, 4 and 5 people know. 1 and 2 people have an STI before age 25, but a lot of people would be like, after my big sob story, they'd be like, yeah, me too. And they're like, oh, okay, moving on. I'm like, oh my gosh. It started to occur to me that like everybody's kind of walking around feeling like they have something to hide. So it was this intuition that like, maybe I need to talk about this more. And the more and more that I talked about it, I shifted my energy around it. And I didn't know what energetics was at the time, but basically energetics is your thoughts, feelings, intentions, vibration around something dictates the response of that thing. How you do something, really does influence the outcome. And so when I approached it as a victim, people felt very bad for me. But when I approached it as like, yeah, you can have a sip of my water, don't worry. Like I have herpes, you won't get it. People were like, who are you and what are you? And like, let's hang out. And I knew I need to go on this vulnerability project. Like that was a culmination of like, I know that there's something in here, because every time that I lead with this courage, when I talk about my story, like people are like, who are you? Like, you need to do this. Like, you should start a podcast. What is going on? And at that time, I was just like freelance writing, and I thought like I was rich. I was living with like 5 Craigslist roommates. It was $700 a month. Like I felt set. I was like, oh my gosh, like what else do I need in life? And really, I think that is important to share with people. Like that's the energy I was in when I launched Living Brave. It was like, I don't need this to work. Like I am happy. Like I am not rich, but I am so rich. Like I can save money and get this epic tattoo. Like, like I'm like, what's going on? And so, yeah, it was, basically deciding that I was going to prepare. I didn't know it was going to be a business. I didn't know if it was going to be a podcast. I had pitched myself to like Women's Health Magazine and The Moth, but it was like all of the Moth Radio Hour, and like, where am I going to share my story? Like, it's got to be big. And I knew that to prepare for sharing the story, however it was going to happen, I had to have the bravest conversations first, because that would build up my confidence, because confidence is just bravery compounded over time. I knew I had to do something that scared me so I could build confidence in sharing it with other people. And so I started talking to the people who scared me the most. I was like, how could I tell all these guys that I dated, people I had crushes on, like, people from the past, about my highly stigmatized STI? And yeah, if I could meet someone in person better, I called it the Vulnerability Project. It's episode 1 of my podcast. And I just started having these conversations with people, so afraid. And there was one person I'd been dishonest with, and I was so afraid to tell him. And I almost threw up, hands on my head. I had to throw, oh my gosh. He's like, do you need to sit down? And I tell him, sit on the couch, look him in the eye. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. We didn't really communicate. Can I give you a hug? I love you. Oh, here's my thing I want to share with you, and my thing that I want to apologize for. And I love you. And it was like, I felt a hug for the first time in my life. It was like, oh my gosh, what a mind trip. Like I have been the one that has been limiting myself. Like these people actually like want to connect with me. Like everybody's just a person. Like I am the only one who was already afraid that I wasn't enough. I was just creating that experience. But really we can heal ourselves through connection, through vulnerability, through owning who we are, through being a woman with nothing to hide. Like there's nothing that is like, there's nothing you can't find out about me on the internet. Right. And that's like, you're kind of a savage when, when that happens to you, just like, okay, like there's nothing that I'm ashamed of. I'm proud of everything in my life, and I've grown from everything, and I'm okay. I can make mistakes. And so anyway, that experience was so transformative. I didn't want it to end. And so I started a podcast really um, about my journey, vulnerability project, and uplifting other people and their stories and their shame. So I would say the biggest shift here is like understanding that whatever has happened to you in life has actually happened for you, not because you attracted it, but because you were delivered it at exactly the moment that you are ready for it, to go through the experience and the journey to become the kind of person that you're the next level of your life, your business, your love requires. And so everything is prepping you for the next level, and life will continue to deliver the lesson to you until it's learned. And it's not because you did something bad, it's not because you did something wrong. And sometimes I like to think about it as like things just happen. Like that's a less like woo way of looking at it, that like things just happen. And so you can either suffer in life, like you're going to experience pain and you can suffer and you can resist, or I like to call it like the chill rocket ship. Like you actually can surprise yourself and others with how chill you can be. How chill can I be? How much fun can I have? How easy can I make this? And it's like you're watching the movie of your life and you're going, who the fuck is this woman? Like this is what consciousness does to us. It helps us observe ourselves, like look at it from a high branch and go, oh my gosh, I'm being proud of the life that you're living, understanding that you can choose your state, you can choose to be unbothered, you can choose love, you can choose compassion, you can choose to see the matrix that other people are living in and their triggers and their fears and their doubts. And you can unbother yourself and you can decide that you're not going to get yourself angry. No one can make you angry. No one can make you feel less than, and that it's really your own work, right? Of filling yourself from the inside out, of getting around people who make this work easier. It's our responsibility, but setting up your conditions to thrive as well. Right. And so I would say that's the main difference, is an understanding of like, what is trauma, and understanding of also that the things that you think make you less than are the things that like make you human and make you beautiful and make you different and are to be celebrated. And often the things people made you wrong for, first of all, that's made you who you are, but second, they're typically beautiful things about you. So I think people who are trying to take you down, or people who are hurt people will kind of get you at your strengths, right? So
Yes.
it's like that's what they'll do. So it's like, oh, like, people would always tell me I had to get it together. I had to get it together. And like I'm messy and I'm wild and whatever it is. Like recently someone sent me something funny, like there was this thread that said like I'm like manic and off the rails and like borderline. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever
You
read,
should
because
be.
yeah, this is the best thing, because I like, yeah, okay, I could be sad, but this is the way I want to live my life. It's not the way you have to live your life. I want to live my life like someone who you're like, is this person on drugs? Like that's literally a choice. But people who will try to support you are going to try to support you and help you in your weaknesses, right? But people who try to tear you down, and typically you're your own worst critic. What you think they're thinking and they're saying is typically just yourself, your internalized, something from the past that you've just lodged down to protect yourself, right? Again, avoiding the past and the present. That's what a lot of people are still doing. And that's why shame slaying is the foundation of this work. But yeah, like it's just such a cool journey, right? To see that it's always an opportunity to just, you feel the resistance and you just lean in, and you kind of integrate it. I could say like separate yourself from shame. Like Brene Brown would say, shame grows in the darkness. And you think that putting it into the light will give it power over you, but it actually gives you power over it, right? We're so afraid of it. But when we just air it out, in a way, you separate yourself from it. But what you're really doing is you're actually integrating it. You're no longer like trying to shove it away into the darkness where it grows. You're actually saying, like, I'm going to take this subconscious thing and I'm going to take this thing that I've lodged deep down inside and bring it to the surface, not to identify with it, but to transform it and to look at it for what it is and like allow myself to move forward.
I love that. I was literally taking notes as you were talking. So many quotable moments, and that I literally was like covered in goosebumps multiple times, because what you said had so much truth embedded in your words. You talked about coming home to yourself and post traumatic growth. I love that. Turning your challenges into your superpowers, your pain into your purpose. And the other thing that really resonated with me was, people say, oh, she's too much. And as a woman, I feel like that's something that we deal with so much. I get that all the time. Brittany, your toxic positivity. I'm like, thank you. I'm sorry I can't have a bad day. I am so sorry that every single situation, every breakup, every rock bottom, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful for that because it shaped me into the powerhouse, into a confident, resilient, unstoppable woman. And so I just love everything you talk about because when you're able to operate life with the level of confidence and certainty and heart and soul and groundedness that you operate with, you are able to just build this community. Like your community, I read your testimonials and I hear your testimonials and I see a lot of my friends in there too. I'm like, this woman is literally changing people's thoughts, their neural pathways, their identities, their entire mindset, their energy. And you are just one of the best at it. And you've built this community of diehard fans. And I'm wondering, what is the secret sauce to building a movement, to building this community of people that feel this camaraderie and this confidence and this energy where they're all like marching with you towards greatness and slaying their shame and building these massively successful businesses? How do you do that?
Mm, such a big question. I'm like, I probably have a 15-hour program on this.
Yes,
Let's see. Well, understanding that community building is relationships and that very smart, beautiful, intelligent, intuitive women just forget their intuition in business and in life. So we know how to build relationships with people, right? We know that when it's like, I'm going to build a relationship with you because I want to get you to join my movement and follow me and be my client. That's kind of like, I want to build a relationship with you so I can get something from you. Like just basic 101 relationships that tends to create a funky energy, and people are pretty intuitive, right? So I would say like to actually care about what you're doing and care about doing it for the sake of you love what you're doing is always like a really great place to start. Because people can feel that. They can feel someone who's just like, wow, like flirtation, it's enjoying yourself in the company of others. Like, damn, this person's like really on one. They're really in this. Like, this is refreshing, you know? And I don't think um so much of building a community. It's interesting because this was never really like, I think it was the intention, but I think it was more like, yeah, what I said in the beginning, like I really want to share my authentic self with the world because that feels like a basic human need, and how cool that we can do that at a large scale. And wow, what if I could really like help one person? Because I know if I listened to this or saw this like a year ago, it would have changed my life. And so that, I think good things spread itself. Like I think that's the TEDx like slogan, right? It's like, yeah, like good shit sells itself. Most people, I think I've always had an understanding, and now I have a love for like marketing and sales, which is that like, yeah, if you stay really bland and generic and safe, I mean, you can be amazing at what you're doing and saying, but it's not going to spread, like especially because attention and focus is the rarest thing right now. Like it's not that people don't watch long form things or listen to long form things, right? Like, of course, people binge shows more than they've ever done it before, but you just can't be boring. I think it's like the Bob Dylan quote in that new movie about him, and he says like you can be beautiful or you can be ugly, but you can't be boring. Like you got to be a freak, and I love that because it's like yeah, I mean honestly, let your freak flag fly. And so I think I always had that understanding of like my first blog post that I wrote that at the time I was like on Elephant Journal, and it was like number one on the site right around when I was launching my podcast, and it was called like why HSD was the best thing that ever happened to me. I think I understood that that's like a pretty what the fuck thing to say. And so I like to really like create a movement again that is a moral inversion, that is a walking, living, breathing juxtaposition that actually like breaks people out of their um waking sleep, and it's like this is different, like this is interesting. Like I like to create art, I don't like to create content. I like to create memories, and then that later becomes my best content. I like to create art, I like to create something that I love, that I feel proud of. And so I think when you do that and you genuinely care about your audience, like I'm in constant co-creation with my audience, I really have looked at it. It's not like, oh, I have to show up for social media. I'm just like, this is fucking epic. Like, yeah, I have a life outside of this. And I think it's important to not have a one-dimensional life. Like get obsessed is something I've been talking about. Like get obsessed with your business, with your life, with what you're doing, of course. If you're going to do it, you might as well be obsessed with it. So I think I've been like, I'm so in love with living brave. I used to say, your business isn't your baby, because I was like, I guess that's right, right? Like people say that your business isn't your baby. I had a baby. Now I'm like, nah, I think my business is my baby. Like I have a baby and I would wake up in the middle of the night for my baby and I would take care of my baby and I think about my baby and I love it and I birthed it and it's greater than me, but it came through me. And I feel the same thing about my mission and my movement. So I think that's like a love and a care. And like, yeah, you go through hard shit. You go through you go through things and you go through things together and you let it evolve and you let it transform just like any other relationship. And, I'm not doing this, like, I think to be a parent because you just hope that your kid is going to love you so much and they're going to take care of you forever. And like, it's this, like, because you're going to get your ass kicked. Right. But like to be a parent and be like, I want to have this experience. I really want to care for this other human being. I want this experience for my life. That's like a completely different thing. And that's going to set you up for more success. Right. And so it's like, I want this experience for my life, and I feel like I have something that could help people and I'd like to connect with people like that. Those energetics are really like how I built a community. In terms of like the strategy of how I built a community, when you are really clear on the energetics of things and very intuitive, then you have to think less about what you're doing day to day. I think a lot of people like are super in the tactics. It's like, what do I say? What do I text him back? It's like, if you understand the energetics of a high value woman, you won't need someone teaching you how to text someone back. However, that might help a little bit, right? Like understanding certain things. So I think like, being like very basic, like showing up, creating value for people, having a front end platform, which has short form and long form. And, I never made anything super complicated, but that's been really helpful. And then I create experiences, in which people can, I don't have to focus so much on articulating what I do. People can experience what I do and they can experience a community. And I really have always encouraged, like I've always watched, videos of my old trainings and stuff. And it's like, hey, everybody, we're doing breakout groups, we're connecting, like, okay, we drop in the chat, make 2 friends, go in a breakout room. So that's always kind of been part of it. Live events have been amazing for me as well in terms of building community. And really like every single thing that I do strategically is also like baking in intimacy, baking in connection within my communities, because I know that's also a huge value of being a part of my spaces is like the kind of people that we attract, and especially at different levels and different price points. Like, yeah, you want to be in a group of these kinds of people who kind of pour into themselves in this way. So that's where I've just like, let myself bring more and more and more of myself to the table. And when I do that, I tend to just attract like really cool people who I think are really cool. Not everybody thinks are really cool, right? But are my people, because I'm being like the most myself that I can possibly be.
I love that. And one of the things that I found that has been able to build you this magnetic online mastermind and in-person events, which you guys got to go to her Instagram, send her a message and inquire about these powerful, life-changing programs, is that you just show up unapologetically and authentically yourself. And you've done the work. And while a lot of these people that have these programs are trying to say the right thing, you are being and doing what you are saying. And it's just this, you said people are intuitive and people can intuitively feel that about you. When you say something, you're doing it, you've mastered it to the best of our ability. And I just absolutely love that about you. And it's just inspiring. And your energy magnetizes people towards you. And it's from doing the work. It's everything we talked about today. It's hitting your rock bottoms and growing through that and building you into the woman you are today. And so I'm curious, what is your favorite thing to teach? What is that one thing that just lights you up when you see your students or your community? It's like the light bulb goes off and it clicks. What is that one thing that you just lights your soul on fire when people really embody it and understand it?
Mm. Yeah, I think my favorite thing to, Well, I'd say the answer is like whatever is alive and true and real and present in my life. So like there could be a moment where I'm like really excited about scaling strategy and I'm like, this is crazy, this is amazing. And like in that moment, that is the thing I want to talk about. So I think there's like permission for that because that's also typically the most magnetic thing when you build a brand with influence is a lot of people are like, I got to find my one thing. And it's like, you can build a brand with influence and then you can actually just speak to what's alive and true and present and have a big overarching message in which everything kind of falls under. But mm, I would say that would be the answer. But when it comes to like right now, I love just like the life artistry tools. Like when I talked about shame slang, that's one of the tools that we use. Um, and I talked about the chill rocket chip today as well. That's one of the tools that we use. And understanding, like when I shared before, like I just get so excited about, understanding energetics and unseen forces and your intuition and working with your emotions and, these kinds of things that you can't see, but are absolutely real and at play. So right now I'm leading an experience and we're talking about like, the quantum nonsense and how to tap into like the infinite and limitlessness within yourself. And that's just so much fun because it's like unhinged off the rails and it's real and it's crazy. And people feel like I've heard this a million times before, but it's a remembering because essentially that work is taking people from their head to their heart to their soul knowing versus some other work is taking people like into their head and getting very like nerdy and strategic, which is fun. But I'd say like where I feel most at home is, the heart. And I think that's actually the most powerful place. And I've asked, I remember Christian was saying like, we have this mindset coach and he was like, what does it take to build an 8-figure business? And she was like, everything works, but like, you have to be in love with it. You have to lead with your heart. Like this is someone who works with like, not very like, people like us, like who works with, very traditional, like masculine, entrepreneurs. And it's like, yeah, you've got to find something, fall in love with it and lead from your heart because that's going to, guide you so far. So yeah, that's what I would say here.
I love that. Find something, fall in love, and lead with your heart. What a beautiful, beautiful saying and such wise words. And so I love everything you've shared. And any of our listeners, if you guys have felt inspired, if you guys have felt lit up, if you guys are even curious about what this powerhouse game changer is up to into the world, you guys go check her out. Check out her website, check out her Instagram. How can people find you? And is there anything that you're excited about? I know you have an upcoming event, which me and my friend Soul want to come check it out. Share with us what people can do to get involved with what you're creating in the world.
Absolutely. I think my computer, I'm like, are we breaking the internet?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I'm like, I'm frozen.
Oh, I can
But you
hear
can
you.
hear me?
Yeah, it might just be the video that's frozen.
Oh, okay, cool. I love this. Well, I hope that I get to meet you in Denver because that's definitely a big thing that we are going out. We are doing 1,000-person event and really about a lot of the topics we talked about today. It's like life artistry, business growth, high cash flow, low maintenance for creatives, artists, visionaries, and there's just some like really, really awesome people coming. So I think we've got like 800 out of 1,000 tickets, and that's in maybe 2 months. So we'll be doing, you'll be seeing me talk about that a lot. And then right now I'm running a challenge. And so sometimes I run things like that, like for fun on the front end. I always talk about them on
I saw
social
your
media. So
21-day challenge. Tell us about that. That looks
yeah.
so amazing. I was able to capture your last challenge and it was so impactful. That's actually how I got introduced to you. My friend was doing it. She's like, oh my gosh, you have to listen to this woman. And I have so much respect for her. So when she says that, I'm like, side
That's
eye.
so
And I was like, oh my
awesome.
gosh, this woman is
That's so
amazing. So tell us all about your 21-day challenge.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, I feel like what I can tell you to look on socials and just look at the link in my bio and it's called Obsessed and it's about getting obsessed with your life and your business and just really like, knowing that to create an exceptional life, it's like we can't do that without exceptional energy and coming home really to what matters. I feel like, so many people hire me at a high level and you'd think it's like, oh, let's like figure out like the next move. And yeah, we can map out the launches, but a lot of the times, like, I want to tap into like limitlessness and joy. And I'm like, okay, let's do that for 21 days. Oh, I gotta sneeze. So
I
that's what
love
it
that.
is. Yeah. But so we'll see if it's still going by the time this goes live. But
Yeah, it's gonna go live in a couple days. Um,
oh, okay, cool.
so I love that you said find something, fall in love with it, and lead from the heart and have that exceptional energy. So, guys, if you guys want to embody that, join her challenge, message her on Instagram, and level up. The reason why I started this podcast is because I wanted to surround myself with people who have the life that I desire, because you
Mm,
are like the 5 people you surround yourself by. And so it's amazing women like yourself that not only have
mm,
so much wisdom, but you have a heart and soul and
mm.
integrity and intelligence that I get to hang out with and build relationships with. And so, as we conclude, I just wanted to say thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for standing up for yourself, because through that growth, you now get to inspire people that you don't even know, that you are giving them hope, you are giving them tools, and you're giving them a new identity, a new belief system, so they can go out there and build amazing businesses and really, really help change the world in a positive way. So
Oh,
I'm so grateful for the work that you've done on yourself. I'm so grateful for your rock bottoms, that you decided that you were going to use that as a springboard into building yourself into the woman you are today. And for every single person that's come into your life and was a blessing or a lesson, we give them praise, and just for everything you're doing. And I'm so excited to see where you go and all the lives you change. And you're such a bright light and you're an igniter. So keep on doing that, keep on showing up, and you're
thank you.
truly, truly making the world a better place. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So, guys, go check her out, re listen to this podcast, share this podcast. I love you guys. Life is about leveling up, and you can take one aha moment, apply it to your life, embody it, and have a completely new experience. So, I love you guys. We'll see you on the next episode, and have the most amazing day. Is there any final words before we conclude?
Nope.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Bye, guys.
Oh, I love.